Here we are with Rivals.com, chatting with Jon Embree, Colorado head coach. Why don't you talk about your first year and kind of it's behind you, and now where are you at heading into year two?
Well, your first year you do a lot of times, spend a lot of time doing things, trying to create the environment, change the culture that you inherited. So did a lot of that and not a lot of football. You find out when you sit back and look at it. So going into this year, this spring, been doing a lot more football. Not having to police and get on kids about doing things, whether it's on time, going to class, whatever it is that you spend a lot of time on that first year trying to do. They understand what's expected. They understand how they want you to work. They understand all that stuff, so it frees you up to do more football.
Yeah, I remember chatting with you last year ago today or whenever it was at 2011 Pac-12 Media Day, and you kind of talked about just sort of getting, not your philosophy known to the players, but just who you are.
Right.
And I remember, you mentioned something about, players coming and sitting with you in your office and really kind of you making it a point to be the kind of guy that as a coach, that they could really understand who you were going to be with them.
Right.
Do you think they got you? You think they know who you are?
I think they're starting to understand that. They obviously the ones who didn't want to buy and do what you wanted to do, we had to get rid of. We suspended 5 kids during the year, but they understand. They understand that I'm for them at the end of the day, and part of that is just having relationships with them, and then just being consistent. I think it's important that you're consistent with the kids, and that'll help you be fair with them, and they'll understand when they screw up what the consequences are. But it's definitely night and day. I mean, like I said, they understand that I like to have a good time too, just like them. And we do a lot of stuff at my house. Have the players over fairly frequently, and that helps them too because they get to see the other side of coach.
Yeah. Coach, when you this is a question I really like to ask first, second year guys. You talk about college football being a puzzle. This job being a puzzle. And the first step a lot of people think is doing the corners, maybe doing the edges. It's opening the box and it's flipping them right.
Right.
At what stage or what point on this, it being all lacquered up and ready to go on the wall is winning a national championship? Where are you guys on that?
Well, we have a ways to go. We got to get the wall first, and then build the puzzle. No,
that's good.
Right now, last year was about trying to win on the road. We hadn't won on the road in 4 years. This year is about trying to get to a bowl game. It's about until you consistently are going to bowl games and consistently doing some other things, you can't talk about championships. So we have a ways to go. We're trying to get to our first bowl in, I think, 7 years. They hadn't won a bowl game there in 11 or something like that. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I feel good about the direction we're headed. I feel good about the kids we have coming in and their mindset, but there's a lot of work left to be done.
Coach, it's interesting you mentioned that because Colorado's been there before. This isn't a program that's just fighting for its way to the top. This is a place that's been at the top before.
Right.
How much easier does that make it for you to sell not only to your players but to recruits, saying, Colorado, struggling right now. We're getting things kind of in order, but we've been here. We have it in here.
Right. It makes it easier because the players understand that there's a certain tradition that when you say, hey, here's what our expectations are, they understand that when we're talking to them about it, that those are the same expectations that the championship teams had put on them. Being there as a coach during championship years, Eric playing there during the championship years, and some of the other coaches, it lends itself. It gives you instant credibility. It just takes one more step out of the process that you have to have when you build a program. You take one more step out of it that allows you to just kind of keep moving forward.
And you mentioned earlier in the press conference, recruiting in California has been big for you. Talk about those two important bases, recruiting California and recruiting Colorado. Because I know you said last year you want to put a gate up over Colorado and make sure you get those players in.
Well, California's gone well for us. We signed 10 last year. I think we got 4 or 5 this year. We're not doing as well as I'd like to in Colorado.
Okay. Why do you think?
Well, I think kids have been close to the program. There hadn't been success around there. Maybe it's, a lot of kids, not a lot of kids, but there's an element to the state of Colorado where a lot of kids are transient. Maybe that's not their home.
Interesting, yeah.
But it has to start with me. I got to be better in whatever it is that we need to do to get them.
Yeah.
We had signed 7 from Texas, so we've been recruiting well in I think 2 areas that have been proven over time that are a very good program, very good areas to get players. So we'll have to continue to do that and continue to improve in Colorado.
Someone asked earlier, and it was a pretty relevant question about going, the mentality, say, going from the Big 12 to the Pac-12. Well, the players change too. Recruiting Texas players is different. They're different kind of guys, different builds. How have you sort of had to, evolve or adapt to that as well? Maybe going for a different kind of player.
Well, it didn't really affect me as much because I was coming from the NFL.
Coming new,
So for me, it's just trying to recruit players to fit our system, guys that upgrade us, make us better, guys that kind of fit the mindset on and off the field that you're looking for in a player. And then as you start getting those guys, you just want to just keep improving the talent that you're bringing in and finding ways to win.
So why don't we talk a little bit about this year's program, this year's team? Obviously, replacing a lot in the backfield, especially. How's that been going? You had spring, so you have a pretty good feeling for how you are.
Yeah, spring went well. We got to figure out who our quarterback is. It's a few guys will have battling for it. That won't start until obviously August 5th. Spring ball, we didn't get a good opportunity to see 2 of the guys because one had a broken foot. So. This training camp, it's going to be an important training camp from that perspective because as you're trying to create competition at all your positions, obviously to have it at really your most important position, quarterback, that trickles down to the rest of the team. And from the standpoint of your team kind of wants to know, well, who's our guy?
For sure.
And you want to get that done as quickly as possible so they can know, okay, this is our guy and this is how we're going to do it, and then let's go.
Would you call yourself an intangibles guy? Are you the kind of guy who says, you know what, I think I'm just going to know. When I know, I know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm not, okay, who's completed this percent. Because there's so many factors that go in. You got drops, he was behind this line. I just want to see who carries themselves in the right way, who can call the plays and get in and out of the huddle, who has command of the offense, who has the respect of the players.
That's huge.
All those things. So when you can start doing that, then I think it kind of shows itself.
When you talk about respect, that's a great point. Okay, is having a quarterback who guys want to play for, want to play with and for. Finding 22 guys to form one team, or to form a starting unit. How important is that kind of universally, not just for quarterback, but finding players who other guys can count on to be plugged in, to be bought in, to be a John Embry player?
Yeah. Well, it's very important. I tell our guys this right now: we're not going to have the best players. We have to be the best team.
Yeah.
Okay. On that day for 3.5 hours. Okay, and so if you're going to do that, then you got to make sure during the recruiting process, during the winter conditioning process, during summer, that your program is set up in such a way that it weeds out the guys that the players don't trust. And what will happen is if you have your program set up that way, the players will come and say, hey, you know what, this guy here, we don't want him on the team.
Exactly.
Hey, this guy here, I know you thought, because there's times you think, oh, this kid isn't what we want or what you need, and then you find out the person's like, oh no, coach, he busts his butt, he does this, he does that. You'll get a true sense of how teammates feel about each other over a course of time. And so you got to just make sure every aspect of your program is demanding enough that it exposes guys and exposes them to their teammates.
Great stuff. I just have one last question, and again, thank you for your time. That game against Utah. Big game.
Yeah.
Big game going into this year for you guys. Do you feel a trickle down from that? Do you feel kind of that, even though it was one game, that one game momentum that maybe gets you, a little bit, shoulders a little higher, chins up a little bit more?
Yeah, what it's done, it's helped. The new coaches coming in the league now, they've been through it, they can explain it to you, but when you're trying to change an environment or create a new culture, and you're doing things differently than what you've been ever asked to do, and you don't see immediate success, you get those guys that are kind of like, I don't know, right? And so to have an event or a situation like the Utah game happen kind of validates, like, okay, we're doing this the right way. Okay, now I see why we do this a certain way. Also, what it does is it helps the kids do something that I've been talking about to them from day one. A lot of times when you come to a program that hasn't had success, they're not capable for seeing themselves for what they can be. You know, they haven't. Everybody sees themselves based off of history. All right, those guys at SC walk around with a different swagger because of their past and their history. But when your past and history maybe isn't what you wanted it to be, you get in situations, whether it's in a game or certain things crop up, and you fall back into those old habits. Or in the back of your mind, you get that, oh, here we go again.
Yeah, the doubt.
Yeah. And so winning a game like that, winning 2 of our last 3, obviously getting that road win, kind of helps erase some of those poor memories. Now, are we there? No. But it's a step. You know, it's a step in the right direction, and it helps us continue to try to move forward.
That's fantastic stuff, man. Colorado head coach Jon Embree for Rivals.com. Thank you so much.
Hey, no problem.